Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is your favorite show, Sports Unfolded, with your favorite hosts, Eric and Ron.
Hey, sports fans, welcome to the best sports podcast on the planet, Sports Unfolded. How are you tonight, Ron?
I'm doing okay. We definitely know you have some technical issues.
Oh, great. Awesome.
But other than that, I'm feeling fine. I have I have some flavored juice.
Awesome.
So it should be a great time.
Yeah. So, again, we are a sports podcast to cover all of the top sports stories going on in the world today. I am your host, Eric, main man over there, Ron. How are you? Otherwise,
We just went through this.
We did.
So I'm doing quite well.
Good. All right. So let's get this party started. Yeah,
somebody almost got a little dollar for the little container there.
So let's start off with our leadoff story, and that leadoff story is the Stanley Cup. So the playoffs are set. Edmonton Oilers will face off against the Florida Panthers in a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup. What are you looking for in this series?
More of the same of what Florida has been dishing out. But there is hope for Edmonton. Look, we know there's a lot of talent there. They went out and they made some deadline acquisitions. Namely, Trent Frederick was one of those players who is going to be asked to do a lot for this team during this series, because Florida is going to do what they just did to Carolina and Toronto. They're going to try to bully their way through to another Stanley Cup. And that is really going to squarely on the shoulders of Trent Frederick in my book. I mean, he's got to enforce, but not be undisciplined while doing it. And that is the fine line of what Florida does to teams.
Yeah, look, rematch of last year. So Florida won in 7 games. This postseason, goals for 3.88 for Florida, 2.29 goals against. Edmonton scored some points in this postseason, 4.06 goals for, 2.81 goals against.
That's enough.
Panthers are remarkable.
That's good on both sides.
Yeah, remarkable on the penalty kill, though. 87.9 for Florida. So even when they are down a man, they seem to be able to control that. I think it's that physicality you talked about, obviously making a difference. Oilers 30% on the power play. Zach Hyman, though, out for the Oilers for this series. So we'll see how that affects them. And then we talked about the addition of Brad Marchand, how big that was going to be and how crucial it was going to be for the Panthers. So, I mean, realistically, you're seeing what he was able to do. He brought an elevated piece of physicality to that team that they already had. But obviously, we call him the Rat for a reason. And you've seen them in this postseason. They've really been able to agitate a lot of teams.
And it goes beyond that. You know, he gets under people's skin. He's a master of it. He also brings a lot of talent with that. And that's the thing that makes him so valuable. And not to mention, might be one of the most clutch players that the Bruins have seen in decades. So you bring that aspect. If a game goes into overtime, Marchand is going to have a hand in the results.
Yeah,
Either way.
So obviously Edmonton, very good at home, 25-13-3. So they have the home ice advantage. That could play a factor
big.
as well. Florida 20-19-2 on the season on the road. So again, granted, postseason a little bit different, but again, you could see that being a factor in this. And then I wanted to talk about the goaltenders, Ron, because Bobrovsky, 2.11 goals against in the postseason. Stuart Skinner, though, not far behind at 2.53. Both these goalies, obviously, we talk about the importance of a goaltender in the postseason and getting hot. Both of these guys are hot. So who has the advantage offensively against these two?
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way. Bobrovsky is the better goaltender, but he didn't have to face a whole lot of offense in the Carolina series. Now, with that being said, they just got done also playing Toronto, which has a lot of offensive power. So does Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Edmonton can put pressure and sustain their forechecking and keep it in the Florida Panther zone, then they got a shot like anybody else does when they do that. The problem is, can they sustain it against a very, very good defensive team? I love their defensemen. They have a very good core defense, and it's not going to be easily done to sustain all that forechecking. But the talent and the speed of Edmonton has to be a factor. They can't get sucked into Florida's game. They can't get sucked into it. And they could. And like I said, Trent Frederick, Patrick Kane, these guys are going to have, there was somebody else, Seth Jones. These guys are going to have to be a factor in this series. You can't get pushed around, but you can't be, free with all the penalties, because Florida will kill you on the power play. And so you can't get sucked into that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, how the Panthers can control that speed, that ability for them to make plays. Both of them are, 1-2 in points in the postseason. So you're looking at two guys that you have to control. They figured a way to do it last year.
Yeah.
But I also think that experience has helped Edmonton as well, because we talked about it during this postseason, how they just slowly got better each and every series and how they started to learn how to control games. We thought Dallas was going to win that last series, and Dallas looked like a shell of themselves against the Oilers. So the Oilers figured something out, Ron. The key is, can the Panthers disrupt them enough to bring them back to where they were earlier in the postseason? I don't know. I think Connor McDavid has something to prove, and he knows his legacy is so crucial in this. How many times do you get to the Stanley Cup? It doesn't happen that often. The fact that you're back-to-back, you have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, there's going to be so many factors. This is going to be probably one of the best series in a long time, I think. I like the aspect that they're both returning for a rematch. And you would think, okay, so Edmonton's got to be a little hungrier. But when you look at that Florida Panther team makeup, it is with a bunch of guys that want to accomplish something that is new. And, it's not that long ago. I was looking at all the headlines and stuff for all of this stuff. Oh, Florida's looking to be, the first back-to-back team since Tampa Bay did it. Well, that was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
hasn't been that
so
long
it
ago.
wasn't a long time.
Yeah.
But, there is another team that's going to be on the ice with Florida. And they're going to be just as hungry as Florida is. And you've got some matchups in this game that are going to be pretty incredible. When you're talking about Connor McDavid being out there on the ice, who is going to be able to slow him down? It's going to be up to that defense. And I would probably think that maybe Seth Jones might be out there when he's out there. Just because of the size and his reach. You got to have probably him, maybe Ekblad, but that's a lot of talent. That's a lot of talent with McDavid and a lot of speed. So if you go with a bigger guy, you're going to be worried about that speed going around on the outside. And if you go with a smaller guy, can a smaller guy really, take the body position away from Connor McDavid? I'm not sure that's possible either. So, it's going to be interesting to see what McDavid plays like in this series. Is he going to be someone that is going to disappear, for long stretches of a game? Or is he going to be an offensive juggernaut throughout the whole game? If he has a lot of chances, they might topple the Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting series. We're going to predict game one later on tonight. But again, if I was going to ask you, Ron, before we move on, who wins this series and why?
I would like to say Edmonton, but going against Florida is not a wise choice. Again, it's going to come down to discipline for Edmonton, because if they take bad penalties because of retaliation, and I know Trent Frederick playing with the Bruins, he's done that in the past. The retaliation always seemed to hurt him. I'm a little worried for them about that kind of a thing. But I think Edmonton should win this series. They are the more talented team.
All right. I think I agree with you. I think Edmonton's going to offensively figure out some things to, again, you score 3 goals. It's a good shot, you win. I think offensively they're obviously far superior than the Florida Panthers, and that would give them the advantage. Again, Bobrovsky's going to be key here if he can stand on his head and limit how many shots go in. But it's going to be a fun series because, again, you talk about two teams now that there's some blood there. There's some bad blood there, based off of last year. So
we don't know if these teams are even going to be able to stay together at the end of the year. And unfortunately, I think Dallas lost their chance. That was it. I think the door is closed.
Agreed.
They have, and we'll go over that later. I have a thing for that.
All right. Well, great Stanley Cup. If you are joining us live, let us know what you think. Who's going to win this series? Again, the Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. So again, Edmonton versus Florida. I'm sure a lot of people have some opinions out there. So check out the chat and make sure you let us know if you have any opinions on the NHL Stanley Cup. And follow us on all our social media platforms as well. And we want to take some time to thank those that have helped us continue to grow. Those in Dallas, Georgia, 99.1 WDJY FM on every Saturday at 1 p.m. There. Thank you for the support, as well as 990 WBOB in Providence, Rhode Island on every Saturday at 10 a.m. and SEC TV Public Access Channel 12 in Southeast Connecticut on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. as well. Thank you for the support. We appreciate you helping us continue to grow. All right, Ron, let's talk some NFL, and this is an interesting one here. Stefan Diggs.
Wait, did you see the title of today's show?
Yeah, Come Sail Away. That's pretty clever. Stephon Diggs and the New England Patriots are not off to a good start. What do you think? Yeah, that's it. You don't get the little
Stephon
baggie
Diggs
in there.
go overboard.
You need that. You need the little baggie in there. What do you think
Yeah, I didn't want
about
to put the baggie.
the troubled wide receiver? What we saw in this video that is there and his possible, tenure here in New England?
This is troublesome. Because look, I know everyone out there knows exactly what he had in that bag. Now, do I feel like he was doing that? Probably not, but he was supplying it. And look, he brought it there to give to some people so that way he can get something in return. I mean, we know how it works. He wanted all three of them. So he brought out the baggie.
With Cardi B.
Now, what is troublesome about it is the NFL is probably going to look into it.
Yeah.
And I fear that there is a suspension coming.
Agreed.
This could certainly derail the feeling that Patriot fans have of the upcoming season. Even though I don't think, you're looking at a playoff team.
Yeah, but I think we were all as Patriot fans starting to look at a change in the culture, getting back to being a
Right.
team that most teams respect and honestly want to play for. And now you got a guy who clearly isn't worried about the team aspect of it, because if you think about A, the image, B,
Yeah.
you couldn't attend voluntary OTAs, right? Because you're supposed to be rehabbing your torn ACL and you're on a boat looking like you're having a great time supplying what we assume to be drugs to these females. And you put your team in a bad situation. Mike Vrabel stated it's something we're aware of, and obviously we want to make great decisions on and off the field. Any conversations that I've had with Stephon will remain between him and I and the club. But again, now thinking about OTAs, starting off the season, and this is what the head coach has to deal with and talk about versus the team and what they're doing.
There's still a wide receiver available out there that is a good quality receiver. If I'm the Patriots, I take that money and I sign that available receiver and cut him.
Yeah, I don't know from a cap hit standpoint what that.
Yeah, I don't know what the casualty will be.
And again, it's tough. To your point, I mean, he wasn't probably going to play till week 5. And now you're looking at possible suspension once he comes back. So he's definitely missing probably half the season.
Yeah.
That's not a good look for year 1 in the Stephon Diggs era of New England. You pick up this guy to help a young quarterback and hopefully develop Drake May into something better. And obviously he has ulterior motives. What those motives are, I don't think it's about football anymore. And, he's got the glam life with Cardi B as his girlfriend, living life on a boat, supplying women with, things that probably helped him have a really good time that night on that boat, but it's not benefiting the team.
You know what's disturbing about this whole thing, Eric? In New England, the coaching that was here, the regime that we had previous of Gerard Mayo, and I gotta say, even with Gerard Mayo, there wasn't these kind of issues. Now, with that being said, I miss when you have a talent like Tom Brady, like Rob Gronkowski, and Edelman, where they're so talented and they never get into any trouble because they are only geared towards playing football.
Mhm.
And we can say whatever we want, how maybe Rob Gronkowski isn't the brightest bulb on the tree. Great football player, never gets in trouble as much as he parties. Never gets in trouble. Why? Because he has respect for the game and his team. This is just a blatant lack of respect for anything, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
He does not care about anybody but himself. And this is disheartening as a Patriot fan to see this. And frankly, I don't even want him on the team. And I know there's all this financial stuff that they got to figure out. But the first thing I'd be doing right now, if I'm Bob Kraft, I am designating him as breaking his contract as a professional. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm going out there and I'm going to try to sign another receiver that's available. And we know there's one good one that's still available.
I mean, I'm getting vibes of Antonio Brown.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like, this is the same kind of rhetoric that came with him. And I understand some of these diva wide receivers, and I don't hear these stories coming out of Cincinnati with Jamar Chase,
Nope.
Justin Jefferson, some of the top elite wide receivers in the game. And here you got a guy that supposedly, A, got a rehab, B, had an off year last year, wasn't his best year. He was on the downside of it. That you would think his focus would be football, would be the team. Hey, let me go to voluntary OTAs, start to work with Drake May, start to figure out, what I like to do and how I'm going to want it. Even if you're not running on the field, you're not doing that stuff. Communication is going to be key. He's too busy communicating with these three young ladies. He's too busy, partying it up with Cardi B at whatever award shows or doing whatever they're doing. And at the end of the day, you're not a New England Patriot if that's what your mentality is going to be.
You didn't even get this kind of an attitude with Randy Moss, who is one of the better of all the diva receivers of all time, right?
Yeah. And then what happened towards the end?
Look,
when he did, they cut him.
Right. And when you look at the past, it's like Marvin Harrison wasn't like this. You look at all those great receivers. Jerry Rice, was he like this? Did he ever get in any trouble? No. Look, if I'm going to go after a receiver, I'm going to go after a football player that wants to play football and it is dedicated to the game. I don't want a freaking diva receiver that's just going to do whatever the hell he wants. Not having it. I don't want that. I don't ever want to see it again in a Patriot uniform because it just doesn't work. Yes, it might be great on the field for a season or two. Maybe. But we're not even into the first season with this guy, and he's already like this. He needs to go.
Yeah,
sorry.
Listen.
I don't want him anywhere near Drake May. Don't want him.
I think you're eventually going to get to that point too. If he gets suspended, once he returns, like now realistically, all those Patriot plans to, enhance the offense, to give them an opportunity to be more dynamic, goes out the window. They didn't draft some wide receivers based on the fact of they had Steph Diggs in the fold. And now this just kind of muddles that as well, because this causes them to reevaluate some of the guys, A, they got to keep now on the team that maybe they were thinking about getting rid of, and B, guys they probably were looking at that they felt they didn't need because of this situation with Steph Diggs. It changes all of that. I agree with you, Ron. I don't know financially what that looks like and cap and dead cap. But again, you can't even trade him at this point because he's a liability with the injury. He's a liability now with a suspension that they couldn't even look at that as an option.
No. Look, I remember I was happy about this signing, Eric. I take it back. I was wrong.
Well,
In the
wow.
great words of Arthur Fonzarelli, I was wrong. Like, flat out wrong. This guy is nothing but a scumbag drug dealer. That's all he is.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy to think about. NFL hasn't really released anything yet. Well, obviously, we'll find out more then.
Edelman, please come out of retirement. Grunt, you're still only 32. Come out of retirement. Come
on. But we will have to see how this turns out. All right, Ron, let's move on to our starting five.
Where is it? I can't find. Oh, there it is.
Our starting five, the remaining players in the NBA playoffs. There's 3 teams still alive right now: the New York Knicks, the Indiana Pacers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're going to give you our starting 5 guys that we would want on our team. I am first this week, Ron, so I will start us off with my honorable mentions. And I have 3. Josh Hart, believe it or not, I would want as an honorable mention. Here's a stat filler, a guy that plays a lot of minutes, does a lot of the intangibles. Josh Hart. Miles Turner. I like the big man. I think he does some things that a lot of big men can't do, including bring people out. He shoots the 3 well. I like what he does. And then Chet Holmgren. Here's a kid that when he got drafted, we kind of criticized a little bit, didn't think it was a good move. He is really starting to fill into his NBA body and become a solid player. Those were my 3 honorable mentions.
Yeah, I have 4 honorable mentions. One of them, of course, is Miles Turner. I think he's a great player. I think, wow, he has impressed me. I also have Chet Holmgren. He is actually my bubble guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he was number 6 on the list. And I also have Anunoby and Michael Bridges.
Mikal Bridges. Yeah.
Mikal.
Yeah. No, solid players.
I like all those players. And to be honest with you, I don't think they're playing Bridges enough. Because I think his numbers would be even better if they played him more. I think he's better than Josh Hart. And I will go as far as if he got his playing time, his numbers would be double of Josh Hart.
I think you may want to do your research on that one because he's played the most minutes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, he's definitely he doesn't take much time off. I saw an interesting thing the other day, and it was actually pretty funny. So if you look at Tom Thibodeau, he plays his starters the most minutes.
Yeah.
In the NBA. He only really goes 6 to 7 guys.
Why do I feel Josh Hart gets more playing time?
No, Josh Hart's, I'm telling you, more impactful. But it was funny because they said the meme I saw was, it said Tom Thibodeau wouldn't start 9 guys in a Major League Baseball game. Because he just does not want to. The guy is like adamant about 6 to 7 is his max is 7 guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, they play a lot of minutes, but no, I agree with you. I think Bridges is a good player. I mean, he's reliable. He hasn't missed a game since junior high school. Like he's played through college, all through pros without missing a single game. So
I like the way he plays. I think they need to put some offense through him more often.
Maybe I agree with you there. All right, so let's get into the starting 5. At number 5 for me, I got Pascal Siakam. 20.4 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists. I love what he's doing in the end. And you know what? He's won a championship with Toronto. He brings that caliber of player that you know can get it done when it matters the most, and he's proving it in this postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is also my number 5. He has impressed me a lot on this playoff run. I think he can do a hell of a lot for a guy that's not getting the credit that he deserves.
Agreed.
I mean, he's a star in my book. I love the way he plays. He hustles. Everything about him, he can rebound. I mean, when you look at the numbers, 18 points, 6.7 boards, 3.6 assists. I mean, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, and an NBA champion. There aren't many players on these lists of rosters that have a championship. He is one of the 3 players that I had in contention for this, and the other 2 not as high.
All right.
We'll just say that. Not as high.
All right. So at number 4 for me, and I'm going to make this comparison, Ron, and don't shoot me for it. But Michael Jordan had a number 2 and Scottie Pippen that helped him win a lot of championships. And I feel like this guy is a number 2. Jalen Williams, Oklahoma City Thunder. He is on fire. 20.4 points in this postseason, 5.8 rebounds, 5.3 assists. He is the Scottie Pippen on this team, where SGA is a legitimate superstar. We've seen him now and what he can do, but he needs a second guy. Jalen Williams has proven to be that guy for me. I would definitely want him on my team. So I went Jalen Williams at number 4.
Yeah, I didn't have him on my list. I looked at his numbers, and
he's averaging 20 points.
I know he's having a great playoffs.
Rebounds.
He's having a great playoff run, but
yes, he is.
I looked at him, and I'm like, not good enough. I'm sorry. You're not going to believe who I have at number 4. I have Jalen Brunson at number 4.
Wow.
This is a tough one for me because going into the playoffs, I'm like, okay, this is the clutch player of the year. And then you look at that first couple of series, and yes, he was a major factor in that. But then Indiana series, I'm like, he's kind of disappearing at times. And yes, and I know that he can come up with a clutch basket, but I'm not so sure he is the key guy because Indiana started going to him to score, always filtering down to where he's defending. And that kind of has exposed him, in my opinion. And it's exposed him pretty bad. And that shied away from me. Now, with that being said, I would still love this guy on my team because of that clutch shooting. But he is a defensive liability, and that's why he's only at number 4 for me.
Okay. All right. At number 3, I had Tyrese Halliburton. I love a guy that can do multiple things and kind of make everyone around him better. Halliburton has proven that with the Pacers. 18.7 points, 5.7 rebounds, 9.5 assists in the postseason. But again, when you talk about clutch, when you talk about guys that need to make plays, when you talk about guys with a little bit of that juice, he's one of those guys. Like he is as animated as I've ever seen him. And you can see the whole team rallying around him when he gets into those modes. And hence why I think the Pacers are where they are right now. So Tyrese Halliburton for me would be my number 3.
Yeah. My number 3 is Karl Anthony Towns. I actually have him above Brunson. Look, the guy is a double-double machine.
You're off your rock.
Okay? And look, and I know he gets into foul trouble.
He cries more than LeBron.
He does cry, but you know what? He still gets the job done.
More than LeBron.
He still gets it done. And, say what you want. He is not a defensive liability. He actually plays on both sides of the court. There are 2 sides, and Brunson needs to learn that. But because these 2 are so dynamic together, it was only fitting for me to put them at 3 and 4. So you can flip-flop them any way you want. they're still going to be number 3 and 4.
Okay. I don't agree with you there.
I know you don't, but
Cat didn't make my list because I'm not getting a crybaby who just is looking more to get calls than to actually play basketball. So I couldn't put him on you.
Jason Tatum.
Kenneth, thanks for joining. But how dare you, Kenny? Cat Williams. I mean, he's just Cat Williams.
He's a good player.
Cat Williams is
the only thing wrong with Cat is that he takes a stupid foul here and there, and that gets him into foul trouble. Other than that, he comes to play from start to finish.
I disagree. I think
he gets it done.
He tries to get calls instead of just focusing on what needs to get done. But
yeah, okay. And every player in the NBA does it. Okay, so
he did it last night. Okay, Kenny. So where was it the rest of the series? All right, let's move on to number 2. At number 2 for me, I had Jalen. I had Brunson. I got big body Brunson. Again,
I don't put him ahead of Halliburton. There's no way.
30.1 points per game. He is a scorer. He's a legit scorer. He can get to the basket at any point. Again, averaging 7 assists in his postseason and 3.5 rebounds for a small guard.
Another one that cries too.
I don't think so. Not like
he always throws those elbows and then flops. He's kind of reminds me of like a shorter LeBron.
Okay, here we go. But you don't you put Cat who does even worse. Doesn't even worse. Cat's worse than Brunson when it comes to
I didn't hold that against either of them.
Okay. All right, who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have Halliburton. Look, he's better than Brunson. I don't care what you say. He's better defensively, which makes him automatically better than Brunson. Okay?
So going by Kenny's theory, though, Brunson didn't show up last night. He didn't show up last night.
Yeah, and Brunson has showed up all series?
Brunson's averaging 30 points.
Averaging 30 points and giving up how many? Isn't he a minus?
I don't know.
If he's a minus, tough.
Okay. All right.
I like Halliburton. He plays some defense. He distributes the ball and he scores. He kind of does everything for this team. And I think he's a hell of a player. He's getting his recognition this series once he buries the Knicks for good.
At number 1 for me, SGA has to be. I mean, we've seen this kid just come along and now is a legit superstar, averaging 29.8 in the postseason, 5.7 rebounds, 6.9 assists. But when you talk about a guy that he can control a game, I have slowly grown to truly enjoy watching him play now through this postseason, because he has changed my mind that he is as good as advertised and well-deserved MVP, because as I started to look at it, he took down the previous MVP, right? He outperformed Jokic when it mattered the most, and you're going to see him, I think, do it again in the postseason.
What I have realized, and he is also my number 1. What I have realized, Eric, that the number 1 team in the NBA is clearly OKC. And number 2 is probably Denver. And number 3 is probably Minnesota.
The West is tough.
I mean, to be honest, if any one of those 3 teams make it to the finals, I'm picking them. And obviously, OKC is already there waiting because they embarrassed Minnesota. And Minnesota's a damn good team. I think they're better than Indianapolis and New York. And they just got pushed aside from a bigger beast in the OKC Thunder. And SGA leads that team. He's got so much talent. You said Jalen Williams. There's also Chet Holmgren on that team. This team is good.
They're deep. They're young. I think the second youngest team in the finals since the late 70s with the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for joining. So this is going to be a team, honestly, that for the next 4 to 5 years, again, barring injuries, will be a contender every single year. I mean, you talk about what the Thunder have been able to build. I think listen, if you look at where he's at to where Tatum and Brown, when we thought they were going to get there, they're far ahead at an earlier age, that this team couldn't be that next dynasty for the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see a dynasty like that for a while, because there's so many talented players out there. I mean, when you put him on a team with a couple of good players, like Holmgren and Williams, and then you also have the Joker, he's got some good players there. He needs one more guy, I think, out there, and then they could possibly have a dynasty. Look, there are some teams that are set up for, the next few years, and it's going to be fun to watch OKC, Denver, Minnesota. It's going to be fun to watch those 3 teams, because I can see those 3 teams running the NBA for the next few years. And then I can't even count out San Antonio, because that superstar.
Yeah, eventually they're going to get better too. Let's talk some more NBA here. Do you think anyone can derail the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals run? So what we've seen.
No, I don't. I think it could even be a sweep. I mean, you like to say these 2 teams can get at least one game. I'm not so sure they can, because of the depth of how OKC plays and who they have coming off that bench. And you can't give the size to the other 2 teams now, because they're going to have some size there.
Yeah, the speed that OKC plays with is remarkable. They won 4 games by over 30 points in this postseason. When you think about the postseason, right, those are the better handful of teams. They dominated.
I know, look at the teams that they beat.
They dominated. They beat Denver, Minnesota. And again, if you look at it, again, to your point, Minnesota's been there. So you were talking about maybe experience, Denver winning it all and the experience. And they didn't stumble. They didn't stumble. No. I mean, you have moments where these great teams are going to make runs, but this team has seemed to just stay steady the course, to be able to control things. SGA has just been a player that no other team can match.
Hartenstein, who is, I don't know what, maybe their 6th to 7th best player, if that.
Again, you talk toughness. You talk about a stat filler. You talk about a guy that's going to do the dirty work. Those things matter. Those things matter. Listen, I know you're
role players.
Yeah, I know you're down a little bit or don't think he's as good, but Jalen Williams is that.
I'm not saying he's not good.
But I'm
just saying
Jordan wasn't going to win without Scottie.
No.
And I don't think SGA wins without Jalen Williams. You're seeing another guy that if they need a basket, they can go to.
I'm sure.
Chet Holmgren, to your point, Ron, I think he's grown in the last 2 seasons to prove that he belongs in this league, that he deserved to be a number 1 pick.
He's good. Yeah,
right?
He's good.
You see it.
He's put on a little bit of weight. He's not that.
I think it's just his body. Yeah, he's not Sean Bradley. Yeah.
No.
But
that was a great draft pick.
If they got to face one team that you think gives them more problems, it's got to be the Pacers, I would think, right? The Pacers play that fast style. It'd be up and down. But OKC's very good defensively. They're ranked 4th in these postseason. They have only given up 106 points a game.
I think the shooting and how they get into position to take the shots matter. I think they're a little more talented. They have a little more vision on the court. And I just think they're just faster, younger, more athletic as a whole.
Here is the problem. Williams, if he keeps improving, he's eligible for max contract.
Yeah,
but I think you got a little bit of time. Like, I agree with you. Like, SGA is going to be a max contract. But if you get 2 to 3 years out of this, and we've seen what Boston did. Listen, Boston gave Tatum and Brown max contracts.
Yeah.
And still were able to get Drew Holiday, Porzingis, like there's ways to work around it, but once it goes, you're in trouble. That's when you got to worry about it.
I don't think they'll be in as much trouble as the Celtics are, because they'll give SGA his when it comes time. Jalen Williams will get his first out of everybody, and then SGA, and then Chet Holmgren. If you just take care of those three guys, and you can fill the roster with some other guys that come up, and you draft, and I think they'll be okay as long as you have those three. I think you're in good shape.
That's an interesting comment, though, by Mike, right? The NBA doesn't want dynasties, right? And I think he may be right there, because that second apron is why Boston now is going to break up this team after 2 years. Like, it's done. You're going to see a lot of these organizations now say, listen, you can't get players. You can't even get the minimum guys on your roster. It kills you. And I agree, but I think OKC's done it early enough where they could possibly do it for 3-4 years before it taps out.
Yeah.
Whereas Boston got 2.
You're not going to get killed by a Jalen Williams contract. You're not going to get killed there. It'll be a pretty good contract, but it isn't going to be like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. It's not going to be that.
He may get a max, though. That's what happens, depending on if he keeps, like, to Mike's point, you keep improving, you become an all-pro, all-NBA. That's what happens. Like, you start to earn max contracts.
I mean, I don't know when he's a free agent. I'm guessing he'll be a free agent at the end of next season, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's time there. So he might not get that huge contract. He might get a max contract, but it isn't going to be, $30-40 million a year.
It will be.
I don't know. I mean, you never know in the NBA. So I think they can do okay. If you're only paying 3 guys, I think you can be under that luxury tax. The problem is the Celtics have 6 guys that they're paying in that luxury tax, whatever it's called. I don't know if it's called the luxury tax, but that's what it's just like, because they're going to have to pay through the nose, and they're not going to make as much money to pay for those players. So the Celtics will lose money next year if they keep the team together. So you got to trade somebody.
They have club options for next season, and then he's a restricted free agent after that. So they probably get 1 more year before they have to max contract him.
Yeah, so he won't get that, $50 million a year. He's not.
I'm telling you right now, that's the way the league goes. So max contract, he's going to get a Jaylen Brown.
I would probably say he's probably going to look at $20 million a year.
No way.
That's probably what you're looking at.
No, he's going.
Because I don't think he's making that much, Eric. He's not making. He's on about a rookie contract.
He's on like $4 million a year right now.
Right. So he's not going to get $20 million a year.
Yes, he will, because a max contract, he gets the base salary of the top 5 players.
No, I let him go. I'm not paying him the top 5 salary. I'm not paying him.
It's him or Holmgren. One of them's going to get that contract.
I'd give it to Holmgren.
So, but great point, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show you how off balance the NBA is right now, because you can't reward players to put them in the top 5 in salary, when they're not a top 5 player, and that's just wrong. It's bad for the game, and they're going to find out. They will find out when all these teams can't sign these players.
I think the biggest problem becomes this is, you knew Michael Jordan. Why did you know Michael Jordan? It's not because, granted, greatest player of all time, right? But you saw them make a run for 8 years, 9 years, where you just either loved them or hated them. You don't even have a chance to hate the Boston Celtics if you're not a Laker fan, because you saw them for 1 year win the championship and then they're out. And now you break up the team, which means they're probably not going to be in it for the next 4 to 5 years again, unless they get lucky. Denver, you won it. Nikolai Jokic, listen, look at the numbers he's putting up, but nobody really dislikes that team because guess what? They're not in it again. They're out of it. The NBA is slowly killing that where you didn't like Kobe because of Kobe and Shaq and the domination. And then Kobe won it again 2 more times, right? Because of him and Gasol. And they had that run. And you're not getting these runs anymore with these teams because all you're looking at is a 1 to 2 year cycle, and then they're over. It's over.
Right, and that's what this max contract thing is doing. Because yes, it's easy just to sign somebody to a max contract, but if your team is going to lose money every year because of doing it, what's the point? And that's what's killing the game. It's making it so that way, Bobby Boucher is out there. They're making it so that way teams can't control their destiny with their team.
Think about it. The Boston Celtics sold the team. They sold the team because realistically, they realized that they couldn't continue financially doing what they're going to do.
Yeah, because they lost money this year.
So this is where you start to wonder is, again, if OKC can hang on for 2-3 years, this is your span. This is your window, right? Just like Ron did before it closes, make sure you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's look, they took a page out of Major League Baseball and in the NBA when you have a team that's as successful as Boston and they can't make money because the salary caps are just ridiculous because that's what they have to give. And, how is that beneficial to the league? It's not. And somebody eventually has to say something, or you're going to have a lot of teams going to be defunct in about 5-10 years.
But you look at it this way, Ron, and this is probably the best way as a Boston Celtic fan. We had the original Big Three. And you could be a fan of the Big Three because we had McHale, Bird, and Parrish for, 8-9 years of just straight dominance. You bring in the new Big Three, right? With Kevin McHale, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. That only lasted 3 years.
Yeah.
This is where you're going with this game.
Not even.
Did
they get traded that third year?
The third year. This is where you're starting to see now. You had Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Drew Holiday for 2 years. And it's gone. It's going to be gone. And this is what they're doing to this league. How do you dislike the OKC Thunder? If they don't make it this year and win it all, there's a good shot that they don't get back to it. Or even if they do, that might be their last shot and then they're done. Then that team's broken up too.
Look, if they're not going to be able to hold on to both Holmgren and Williams, they're probably not going to make it back in 2 years. So next year could be their last year to try to get to the finals. It's not the same as it used to be.
That's insane, right? To think about. It's so bad. It's so bad. But Mike, great point. Great talking point. Thanks for bringing that up. That really, you're right. You don't look at it. This is their shot, man. Like OKC, if you're going to do it this year. Probably get another year out of it, and then that team's going to look vastly different. All right, Ron.
It's kind of sad when you really think about it because, how excited were we, a couple of years ago when Brown and Tatum started carving into that playoff run, right? And before you even really get to be excited about it, it's over already.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. It's
a couple of years.
And this is why, again, why did the NFL with the Patriots, so many people hated them? Because guess what? They dominated for 20 years. You either loved them or hated them, but you had to see the same cast of characters every single year. In the history of the game, continuity wins. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Too much play move. Durant's going to move again. Giannis going to move. Like, you don't build around players anymore and continue to keep that team together.
Now, that's a good point, Eric, because where does Giannis go, right? I mean, if he goes to Dallas, okay, so that makes them a contender, right? But don't forget, Kyrie Irving is also, he's got a player option. he could opt out and he could leave. So
Anthony
you
Davis
might get Giannis, but
Yeah.
then you lose Kyrie Irving. And now you're talking, all right, so now we have these big two guys.
Oh, to your point,
that's
you go 1 year and then guess what happens? Then they break it up
Antonio
anyway.
Davis
So it's
goes.
like it doesn't, you can't. And then basketball, if any sport, like there's the quarterback wide receiver combination, right? Those guys, the ones that were successful, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, they worked every day in practice. This is what I'm going to break, my timing, right? It's all continuity. Basketball is probably even more critical because those 5 guys on the court all need to be cohesive units and where they're moving, how they're setting picks, how I'm going to get this guy open, where he likes to pass, you don't see it anymore because these guys don't play together long enough to even get used to it.
Right.
And this is why that game, it's a great game. People are still going to watch it, but you're never going to get the villains anymore. You're not going to get those guys that you just want to dislike because, oh my, here we go. We're going to watch this team again this year, get to the finals, or again have to win a championship. You get to see it. OKC wins it this year. Great. You might not see it again because they break up the team. It used
to be when you have Magic and Kareem playing together for many years. It's like it just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. It's such a difference. Such a difference. All right, Ron. Looks at Major League Baseball. Big series this weekend. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees are squaring off. Which team needs to win this series more?
I would say the Dodgers. And the only reason why I say the Dodgers is because it's a competition out there in the West. In the West.
Yeah. Padres,
the Dodgers are up by 2 games over the Padres, 3 games over the Giants, while the Yankees have Tampa Bay again.
6.5.
I don't know how.
Every year.
6.5 games back. Like Tampa Bay is not that great of a team.
Agreed.
And frankly, on paper, they might be the worst team in the East, but the other 3 teams can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I looked at it and I said, now you have to go from the draft. Yeah. No, I agree, Mike. The draft's so critical in the NBA now. And that's why, look at what Dallas, people keep saying trade that pick. They may trade that pick. If you could get a guy like Cooper Flag and he can last for the next 10 years in that organization, it makes more sense than to trade for Giannis, who you think in a year or 2, they're going to break up the team again.
Yeah, because if you get Giannis, say, and you retain Kyrie and then draft Flag,
there's no way. Giannis is that would be the number 1 pick.
Milwaukee yes, right. He's under contract. He's not a free agent. So
Giannis going there would be, so even if you kept Davis, Giannis, and Kyrie, it's for a year, and then you're done.
It's for a year, exactly, because they're not going to be able to keep them together.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say this Yankees team, honestly, I'm really starting to enjoy what they're doing, but they got that 6.5 cushion. I think there's not that hangover of the World Series anymore. I don't think anybody's really looking at it.
No, because they didn't show up for the World Series.
They got there. And they could get there again. And they could get there again.
They should.
But the Dodgers are in critical condition when it comes to that NL West. That the Giants are playing good baseball, and the Padres are not going away.
To me, the Giants are like Tampa Bay. How are they in it every year?
Every year.
They don't have a great team.
Every year. But it's going to be a fun series. A must watch, though, because even Max Fried pitching tonight, Yamamoto on Sunday for the Dodgers. So those are guys you'd want to see versus these teams. So should be a fun matchup, but I agree with you. I think the Dodgers need this series more than the Yankees.
They got to put some distance in between them and the Padres and the Giants, because if they go into a slump and then they end up in 3rd place, wow.
And then you look at it this way.
That's different.
Dodgers last 10, 5-5. Yankees 9-1. The Yankees are hot right now too. They're playing some really good baseball, 1-5 straight. So again, the Dodgers, you're playing a team that's hot right now. And if you're
Look,
supposed
the
to be the
Yankees
team
are
to
going to
beat,
want to win this series, because of it's a playoff preview. Probably it's probably the next World Series again.
yeah,
I can't until anybody in the National League can beat the Dodgers. I'm saying they're going in, because I don't see it from anybody. That Dodgers team is stacked with players that are clutch in clutch moments from top to bottom. There's no way anybody beats them this year,
all right,
unless a trade happens.
no, yes, all right, Ron. Let's move on to our split decisions.
And the Yankees as well, because they're far and away the better team in the American League. Detroit is the only one that, not anybody.
All right, our split decision segment. Basically, we ask each other two more likely scenarios, and we got to make a decision. I actually have a third one, Ron, but I'm going to throw this in as a fun one. This doesn't count yet. But Ron, which would be more likely?
Now you're taking your final thoughts that are now 2 and 3 long, and now you're bringing it into split.
But I just thought about this one. And I thought it was interesting. Which is more likely, Ron, for a rematch? The New York Yankees Dodgers World Series or the Philadelphia Eagles Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl? Which is more likely to be a rematch, since we've got a rematch in the NHL?
Dodgers, Yankees.
Really? You don't think the Chiefs and Eagles?
No, I don't think either team is going to make it back there.
Okay. Wow. Either. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. I just thought about that one. So I said, let me throw it in there real quick, because we got an NHL rematch. So you don't see that too often anymore. All right, Ron. So my first split decision, which running back is more likely to have more rushing yards this upcoming season? Saquon Barkley, who had 2,005, or Derrick Henry, who had 1,921? Which one is more likely to have more rushing yards next season, this upcoming season?
More than the other player, correct? Not more than anybody in the league?
Yeah, just more. Yes.
I'm going to say Travis Henry.
Derrick Henry. Travis Henry used to play for the Buffalo Bills.
Travis Henry.
Back in the day, man, Travis Henry. You're bringing out some names. Wow. Travis Henry.
Yeah, I'm going to say Derrick Henry, because I think he's going to stay healthier more.
Okay, Saquon healthy last year, which was a rare.
Saquon's due for an injury.
Yeah. No, it's a good call. All right. Saquon. So your first
I think Derrick Henry will miss a couple of weeks, but I think Barkley is probably going to miss about 5.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Your first split decision.
Okay, let me see. Let's do this one. Which player is more likely to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers? So, Dan, if you're out there, I don't know why you're not commenting, but this is for you. Miles Turner, who will be a free agent. Brooke Lopez, who is a free agent at this point. Or Clint Capella. Who will they sign as their big man? Who is more likely to sign? Miles Turner, Brooke Lopez, or Clint Capella?
Turner brings more offensively for them, because they want to shoot the 3 ball. That makes sense. But then you also need a guy that's a stat filler, and that's Capella. He's like a double-double guy. I don't think Brooke Lopez, he's a good player. I don't think he does anything. Capella, I could see, because I think they could get him cheaper, and he'd do more for them from a defensive and rebounding standpoint. So I would go Capella. I think he'd be more likely of the big men. But I would say Turner, if they're looking offensively, Turner. If they're looking more for a stat filler, I'd go Capella.
Well, this is, of course, if they don't trade for Porzingis.
One can only hope. I'm about done with Porzingis. I had my run with Porzingis.
I'm just saying. Maybe the Celtics will sign one of those 3 guys and trade away Porzingis.
Yeah, depends on the money. All right. Ron, your second split decision, which player is more likely to get to 500 assists first in the NHL. JT Miller, who has 449. Tyler Seguin, who has 449. Or David Pastrnak, who has 442. Which
David
player?
Pastrnak. It's not even close.
You are such a homer.
No, look, after what Pastrnak has done the last 2 years, filling the stat box with
Thank you,
points,
Kenny.
I just don't think that JT Miller is a goal scorer. That's all he can do is really, he's a power forward, goal scorer. He goes down that wing and then takes a slap shot, scores a goal.
Okay.
He's not a playmaker. Tyler Seguin, getting up there in the years. I don't think he does it because of his age. And the fact that Dallas is going to be decimated at the free agency. So to me, it's Pastrnak because it doesn't matter who's on the team. Obviously, his team sucked this year, and he still got 100 points. A lot of assists. He fills that assist box night after night after night. It's David Pastrnak, not even close in my book.
Okay. All right. Your second split decision.
My second
Danny's
split
on. Thanks for
decision
joining.
does go into hockey, and it does cover those Dallas Stars like we just mentioned. Who is more likely to re-sign with Dallas? These are all free agents at the end of the year. Jamie Benn, 35 years old, 16 goals, 33 assists. Matt Duchene, 34 years old, 30 goals, 52 assists. Evgeny Dadonov, 20 goals, 20 assists. Michael Granlund, 33 years old, 22 goals, 44 assists. Or Colin Blackwell, who's 32 and had a big whopping 6 goals and 11 assists. Who is more likely to resign?
He's out. Ben, you said, was how old? 35?
35.
Yeah, I think he's done. Who was the second guy?
Currently.
Who's their
That's
second
him
guy?
right there.
Who's their second guy?
Well, there's
You said the
Duchene,
second.
30 goals, 52 assists.
Duchene, I think, would still.
Now, let me also add that they only have $5 million in cap space.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
They're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
They missed the boat.
They did.
So they are not sailing away with anything.
See what you did there. I see what you
All
did
right,
there.
now you're saying Duchene, but I might add that Mikhail Granlund, he is the left wing on Rantanen's line. So my guess is going to be he is staying.
Okay.
I think they want to keep that top
line together
intact.
Yeah. No, makes sense. All right, Ron, let's continue with this NHL talk. What's going on with the Boston Bruins in this head coaching search? So Boston.com reported there's 3 finalists right now: Marco Sturm, Mitch Love, and Jay Woodcroft. One of which is the only one that actually had NHL experience coaching was Jay Woodcroft for Edmonton. In 133 games. He was 79-41, 14-14 in the postseason. So if you're trying to win postseason, that doesn't make sense. Marco Sturm played for the Boston Bruins for 5 years, also played in the NHL for 14 total. Coaching with the AHL affiliate of the Kings, which was Ontario Reign. And Mitch Love, he's the Capitals defenseman coach. They were one of the top defensive teams this past season at 2.79 goals against. And he also coached the AHL Calgary Flames. So if those are your 3 options, Ron, first off, does any of them say wow? And secondly, why is there not a bigger name?
They all say wow.
Wow, in the wrong way. Why is there no big name coaches being associated with the Boston Bruins at this time?
Because the Bruins know deep down they are several years away after letting everybody go. And this is just a guy to get the young players up to speed. And then in about 4 years, where they think they're ready to go, they fire him, hire a coach that's proven, and that's what they do to win in the playoffs.
But with the injuries, you don't think there's a quicker turnaround for Boston where if they had guys or a guy that could coach a team that's, I mean, they're I would say they're on the cusp of postseason again.
Oh, they're on the cusp of something. But look, realistically, if they want to contend, they got to sign at least one defenseman and 3 forwards. Realistically, there is probably never in history a team made 4 big signings in an offseason. It's not going to happen. So, with that being said, look, I think they can make a splash and get one guy, on offense. I don't think they're going to make a big signing on defense, even though that's where everything broke down. That defense was atrocious. Fedorov was better in the second half of the season, but still not great. A lot of turnovers. I think this coach is just going to be a guy to get him into the playoffs and then relieve him of his duties and then get somebody that's proven.
So Marco Sturm seems like the likely choice based on the fact that he has the Bruins ties.
He also brought a team in Europe. I don't know what league. I don't know. But he brought a team in Europe to the playoffs as a head coach. So my guess is it's probably going to be him or Woodcroft. I don't think it's going to be Mitch Love. There are still 3 other guys that have a possibility, and that's Luke Richardson, which I don't want him. There's Joe Sacco, which obviously that didn't help, but they didn't help him with a roster either.
Yeah.
And then there's Jay Leach, who was on the bench in Boston. And look, we've talked about this with the Patriots. We need somebody outside of the system. That's why, it makes sense with Sturm or Woodcroft. Yes, Sturm played here in Boston, but let's be honest, he was already well past his prime, and he was injured all the time, so he didn't play much. So 5 years, he's lucky if he played a year total. So I think Sturm or Woodcroft would be the guy that they hire. I mean, it's something that's intriguing. They obviously don't have the experience, but I think they could do okay with them, at least to get them ready, at least in the beginning. See what happens after that. I don't know. It's not the glamour, coaching pick.
Yeah.
Like if you scooped up a coach from like Pittsburgh or somebody like that, it's not one of those. It's not one of those signings. It's not going to be great.
Okay. All right. I'm surprised that.
Oh, Danny's here.
Yeah, Danny is, and he's doing some big things, graduating, it looks like, next year. So congratulations to that.
Yeah.
Cal State, Long Beach, going for a bachelor's. Congrats. All right, Ron, it is time for pick and roll.
It's so frustrating talking about that. Not what I had in mind. I'm sorry, we still on? I can't find pick and roll. Did I not upload? I don't think I uploaded it. Go ahead. Pick and roll.
All right, so I'll pick and roll. These NFL wide receiver tight ends were all drafted in 2003, which was 22 years ago. And all were Pro Bowlers: Dallas Clark, Jason Witten, Andre Johnson, Anquan Bolden, Brandon Lloyd, and David Tyree. We're going to rank them from 6 to 1. I am first this week, Lauren, so I will start us off. How this guy beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl drives me absolutely nuts. Because at number 6, he played in 83 games, missed a David Tyree, 54 receptions, 650 yards, averaged 12 yards a reception, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. 1 Pro Bowl.
He only made the Pro Bowl because of special teams.
Right? Yes. Oh, yeah. And 1 championship. 1 championship. At number 5, I had Brandon Lloyd. He played in 142 games, 399 receptions, 5,989 yards, 15 yards per reception, which was the best on this list, 36 touchdowns and 1 Pro Bowl. At 4, I went Dallas Clark. Played in 143 games, 505 receptions, 5,665 yards, 11.2 receptions, 11.2 yards per reception, 53 touchdowns, 1 Pro Bowl, 1 All-Pro, and a championship. Swear I got a little dicey. These guys actually were pretty good. Anquan Bolden I had at 3. 202 games, 1,076 receptions, 13,779 yards, 12.8 yards per reception, 82 touchdowns, most on this list. 3-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and a championship. But at number 2, I went Andre Johnson, 193 games, 1,062 receptions, even though he had less, had more yards, 14,185. Better yards per reception at 13.4, 70 touchdowns, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4 more than Bolden, and a 2-time All-Pro. Bolden was not an All-Pro, so I put Johnson ahead because of that. And then at number 1, I had Jason Witten, 271 games, 1,228 receptions, 1,346 yards, 10.6 yards per reception, 74 touchdowns, 11-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Jason Witten, to me, number 1 on this list.
Yeah, I don't know if we saw this quite the same. The bottom half is perfectly the same. David Tyree, the scrub that had 1 day of his life that was good. 1 day. And it was luck. Ooh, let me catch the ball over here.
Still say that hit the ground, by the way, but yeah.
And, so he was number 6. What a crap player he is. I'm sorry. Crap player. 54 receptions. I mean, come on. In his career. Like, most of the Patriots in those Super Bowl times had that by halfway through the season. Number 5, Brandon Lloyd. Oh, not much better. I always thought he was better than these numbers. These numbers are true. These are a train wreck.
He had a quick window, and then that closed.
1 year, 2 years tops, and then he disappeared. Number 4, Dallas Clark. I always thought he was better than these numbers. These numbers not eye-opening either. Number 4 for him. I had at number 3, you might find this as a shock, Andre Johnson. 1,062 receptions, 14,184 yards, like you said, had the most on the list for the yards. He had 70 touchdowns, not quite up there for touchdowns. Not high enough. 7 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro. I'm looking at this now. I feel like Anquan Bolden might have got robbed a few times.
But this is where I'm saying, right? All-Pro means you were the best at that position.
Right.
They played at the same time.
Yeah.
That's why I put him ahead of them.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on that. I have to look at those numbers even more in deep. Number 2, I have Jason Witten.
Ooh, interesting.
Love those receptions, and I love those yards. 74 touchdowns, 4 more than Andre Johnson, 11 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro. But at number 1, I actually have Anquan Bolden.
Wow, interesting.
1,076 receptions. So a little more than Andre Johnson, not as much as Witten. I love all three of these players, mind you. 12.8 yards per reception, but the man had 82 touchdowns. 82 touchdowns in my book was eye-popping, as was significantly higher
Yeah.
than the other two. 3 Pro Bowls, not enough of Pro Bowls, but the man did have a Super Bowl, and that weighed a lot. For me, he also was Rookie of the Year. Not that played in any factor in my decision. It was mostly those touchdowns and the Super Bowl that put him ahead. I love that he's that big hulking receiver type, and he just outmuscled people for the ball, and so he gave up a little bit on the yards per reception because of the being that big guy and the type of receiver that he was. He wasn't just somebody that would go down the sideline and make a catch, for a 50-yard touchdown pass. He had to work for every yard he got, and he did a great job. I think he was really overlooked as a receiver in the league. Okay. And when I saw those touchdowns, I loved it. Yeah. And that meant a lot. So okay. I think the touchdowns in this case was warranted. But I will tell you, if I'm lining up Bolden, Andre Johnson, and Witten, we're a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, Agreed. All right, Ron. Before we get into our predictions, if we wanted, this is the final week of the Hall of Fame voting. This will be next week. We will have a new member of the Sports Unfolded Hall of Fame. Those on the right there are all inducted. Those on the left have been the ones left off. Right now in the NHL, Jaromir Jagr, Theo Fleury, Teemu Selanne, Mark Recchi, and Pavel Bure. Again, go to the Sports Unfolded Sports Poll page on Facebook. Cast your vote. Jaromir Jagr leading in that poll. Let me see by how much here.
These are all great players.
26 votes. He's got 62% of the vote. So right now it looks like he's a lock, but anything could change in this next week.
That's right. Danny, go vote.
As well as Major League Baseball. Jack Morris, Roger Clemens, Fernando Valenzuela, Nolan Ryan, Oral Hershiser.
This is tough.
Nolan Ryan leading this one, 36 votes in, 87% for Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
I think
That's
this is
startling,
pretty much going to be a domination. Fernando Valenzuela actually in second with 8%. So
really?
Roger Clemens got a vote. Jack Morris and Oral Hershiser all have.
Did you vote for Roger?
I did not.
You voted for him.
No, I went Nolan. I went Nolan Ryan. But again, go to Sports Unfolded Sports Poll page on Facebook. Cast your vote. Polls will close this week. And then we will have a new inductee into the Sports Unfolded Hall of Fame. So give yourself an opportunity to vote for your player that you felt is most deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. All right, Ron, it is prediction time. It is prediction time.
You got me this week, Eric. It's been a while.
5-3, 4-4. Danny 0-3 last week. Hopefully he can make that up. James went 2-6. A bad week for him as well. So again, if you are joining us live, give us your picks as we discuss the games, and you can get on your name on that chart as well. All right, Ron, we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference Finals. Tomorrow, you got the New York Knicks at the Indiana Pacers, Game 6. I think the Pacers gave one to New York at home. I don't think they do that when Indiana's at home. I'm going Pacers here to close out this series.
Yeah, I went Pacers as well. I don't think they're going to – because if it goes to 7, New York is winning.
Yeah,
and
I think they understand that. Yeah.
They know this, and look, everybody's coming to play. I mean, nobody thought Indiana was going to be in the championship, series. And here they are. They have a chance to get there, and they are not going to blow it. Those players, I think, play very smart, and I think they understand what is happening right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Pacers understand the opportunity in front of them, and I think if they get to Game 7, you got to have a strong feeling that you lose that game. So, anybody else out there? New York Knicks at the Indiana Pacers. Who do you have?
Come on, Danny. Let's go. Let's go. Michael, row your boat ashore.
Kenny. All right, let's talk Stanley Cups, Ron. Got the Florida Panthers at the Edmonton Oilers. That game is in, believe it or not, we're in June. We're already in June.
Not yet. We are.
It's right around the corner. It's crazy. What do you have? Game 1.
I'm going to go Edmonton for Game 1.
Okay.
Just going by history, I think Florida starts off slow.
All right. I'm going Panthers here. I think they're going to want to prove something. Little psyche. I think the physicality comes into play for Game 1. I think Edmonton adjusts afterwards, but I'm going Florida here. All right, Major League Baseball. Got the New York Yankees at the Los Angeles Dodgers. 3-game series. I agree with you. I think the Dodgers need this series. I can only imagine, Danny. Congrats on that, man.
Put in your predictions, Danny.
So I think the Dodgers, knowing they need this series, are going to really, come out and try to win it. And I'm going Dodgers here.
See, here's the thing. I don't want to just give this away. I mean, I want to say the Yankees are going to win just to put a jinx on them. But I think the Dodgers are going to win.
Danny went Dodgers. You went Dodgers?
Yes.
Okay. All right. WNBA action on 6-3. He went Knicks.
Danny also picked the Knicks.
All right. Phoenix Mercury at the Minnesota Lynx. That game is on the 3rd run. Who do you have?
I've got Minnesota.
Minnesota undefeated. One of 2 teams, them and the Liberty. It looks like maybe you get a rematch of the finals. That was another one we could have done, which is more likely. I went Minnesota as well. Tomorrow, Major League Soccer, you got the Columbus Crew at Inter Miami CF. Who do you have, Ron?
I have Columbus on the road.
I also have Columbus. Miami not as good this season. They're not as good this season, though.
Yeah. Did they win last week?
No, it was a tie. This is like the 3rd week in a row.
Oh, man, you didn't let me say tie.
No ties. We're not doing it. All right. June 1st. Couple of not so good teams, but we figured we'd throw it in there. UFL action. Arlington Renegades at the San Antonio Brahmas. What do you have?
I'm going to go with the home team in this case. I'm going to go with the Bahamas. Because I feel like I want to go to the Bahamas. So
I went Arlington here. San Antonio's won 1 game all season. So I don't think they're going to do anything. Yeah, but you never know. Maybe that's their final home game. They're going to come out. But I went Arlington. One more. June 1st, you got the Cracker Barrel 400 in Nashville. Arlington. Danny's going Arlington. Cracker Barrel 400 in Nashville. We need a top 5 driver on. We did not have a winner last week. James just finished number 6 with his pick. So Just missed the top 5 driver. I'm going Ross Chastain this week. Ross Chastain.
Did I go Christopher Bell last week?
No. Last week. Yeah, you did. Yeah. Yes, you did.
All right. I'm gonna stick with him. It was a fluke that he didn't get there. So I'm going with Bell.
Okay. All right. All
Mostly
right. And that
because
is.
I forgot to take a look at that. And
yeah. Tune in next week to see how you did, Danny. Again, every week, if you join us, you can do our predictions, get your name on that chart. Ron, before we get into our final thoughts, if you would be so kind as to tell all the wonderful people out there how they can become a sponsor of Sports Unfolded and continue to help us grow and get advertisement for their brand.
yeah, absolutely, Eric. Like we go through this every week, and it was nice to see that we had a sponsor for last week. That was nice. Now it's your turn out there. So you can sponsor the show and your ad will be here. We will read the ad. So not only will people see it, but it will be heard on the audio version for Spotify, Amazon, Red Circle, and many more. So send us an email at ribroadcasting.media@gmail.com and we can send you out the media kit. And like I say every week, Eric, it's like going to your local coffee shop, getting an iced coffee, and of course, a double chocolate donut. The chocolate donuts with the chocolate frosting on the top.
Oh, my friend.
Just like getting that, but it costs less than that.
All right.
So
do it now. Do it now.
What are you waiting for?
Let's once again thank those that have continued to help us grow. WDJY 99.1 FM in Dallas, Georgia. Thank you for putting us on every Saturday, as well as 990 WBOB in Providence, Rhode Island on, again, Saturdays at 10 a.m. And SEC TV, Public Access Channel 12 in Southeast Connecticut on every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Thank you for the support. Thank you for continuing to help us grow. Ron, it is final thoughts time, and our final thoughts don't necessarily have to be about anything sports related. It could be about anything happening in the world today. I am first. I will give you my final thought, one tonight. Rick Derringer has passed away. Who is that, you say, at the age of 77? If you were... See, I went a different route because I will tell you right now, thanks to Danny, I will say, Ron, that I don't like wrestling now, but when I was in the heart of it and you heard I Am a Real American and Hulk Hogan comes running out, I will never forget that. He was the writer and singer of that song. So a great loss to the WWE world, F world, however you want to look at it back in the day. Because that was an iconic song that created that buzz for wrestling. So big loss there. Rick Derringer passes away at the age of 77.
Yeah.
That's my final thought.
Yeah, that's a good one. Great rocker for sure. Look, I don't do this very often on the show. Oh. But I do have to say, look, get on Rhode Island Broadcasting. So wherever you're watching this or listening to this, get on Rhode Island Broadcasting because we just signed on to get about, I think it's 3 movies that we're going to be airing on Saturdays starting next Saturday. They're movie shorts. So they range from 5 to like 35, 40 minutes. So we're going to be airing some movies. We got a new show that just debuted this past Thursday, Why Write? So if you like books and authors and stuff, you want to tune into that 9 a.m. or just watch it, anytime you have, the availability, because the video is there. And we got a new web series that is going to be starting Monday at 6 p.m. And that is The God Named Pablo. And I saw the first episode. Pretty funny. It's pretty good. It's amusing. So, and the episode was only 5 minutes long. So I'm sure you can spend 5 minutes of your time to watch that at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday. So we got all kinds of stuff that is going to be added to the channel. So watch for movies, shows, the whole bit.
Awesome.
That's it.
All right. Well, continue to help us grow by liking, sharing, and following us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, MeWe, Kick. We're everywhere. So check that out as well. We want to thank those that have joined us live tonight. Danny, Mike, Kenny, thank you for joining us live. We appreciate all the support. Tell your friends about it. Join us every Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get on that sports poll page on Facebook to finish that voting, as that polls will be closing this week. And Ron, as we always ask for every single show, all we ever really want is to get peace on earth.
Have a great night, everybody.